page 120. The thought not only has an effect on the thinking human being alone, but also on others. What the human being thinks radiates beyond his or her own aura and also influences the environment, such as people, animals, and plants, etc. Radiated evil thoughts, worries, hatred, unsatisfaction, and so on and so forth will, with a boomerang-like effect, be hurled back, in which case they will again inevitably strike the sender of the thoughts with devastating gewalt. Thus it also happens with good thoughts, which then indeed wield a corresponding good effect. The thinking, the thought, is the actual consciousness-based great might of the world. The thought, aside from the spiritual power, is unsurpassably stronger than any other power, much tougher, mightier, and more undestroyable than all matter and outer influences and conditions. Whosoever is able to master his or her thoughts and change his or her thinking to a good form, masters and changes his or her destiny into a good one. The greatest that the human being is able to accomplish is the self-mastery through thought discipline. Whoever is able to do this is an emperor among the human beings, because he or she controls their life exceptionally certain and well from within. From this he or she acts certain of victory and unwaveringly in the face of all inequity. He or she lives and acts from the world of the causes, from the world of their thinking. As often as the life is looked at and considered, it always reflects the prevailing direction of thought of the human being. If therefore a human being is not satisfied with their life because it is hollow and empty, and he or she wishes for more love, happiness, health, joy, harmony, and success, etc., then they have only to correspondingly change and re-educate their thought world, their mode of thinking, to think constructively and good, and already the miracle begins to emerge. How to make this happen shall be taught here. Distracted, ill, and irresolute, everyday, unlucky, and undecisive thinkers shall become powerful, concentrated, and conscious natural thinkers. Natural thinkers, for the reason that nature itself teaches this value. We can also call them thinkers of life or conscious thinkers because they also teach in the same way. However, since the thought represents a tremendous might, we will use the term might-oriented thinking. Might-oriented thinking is translated essentially as right life creational thinking. No matter is able to resist a healthy, determined, and strong thought. A good thought, a good mode of thinking, is fulfilled with the absolute consciousness of the unity with the creation. Right, power-conscious, and positive thinking dissolves all difficulties, but first something must become a reality in the human beings themselves, in their thinking, before it is able to appear in the world of the senses. The fact that a hindrance, a terrible thing, or other incidents always take on those dimensions, as these become assumed and thought up, bears witness to the rightness of this logic. Consequently, if the human being thinks, e.g., thoughts of a hardship as small and unreal, then this also becomes small, unimportant, and easily surmountable. But if they are thought of as great, difficult, and unconquerable, or only difficult to conquer, then it will be as good as impossible to overcome, to manage them, and to become master of them. Thinking power and the use of the might-oriented thinking require an education which, at the beginning, appears very difficult and often impossible. But that is really only in the beginning, because this new teaching appears completely unfamiliar, unbeknown, and foreign. In truth, however, it is all very easy. It only requires a quote Stein des Anstoßes to get the stone rolling, and already the thinking sets itself in motion and function. And now everything already strides ahead very quickly. The whole instrument of the thinking rearranges itself almost immediately into the new mode of thinking. All quote apparatuses connected with the brain change their energy strength and transform them simply like an electric transformer. All ganglia cells and neural pathways, etc., adapt themselves automatically to the new attitude and further the new, right, and positive, might-oriented thinking. It takes only a short time until the positive, might-oriented thinking proceeds habitually. Certainly all beginnings are difficult, and there is no reward without previous effort. Practice makes perfect, and when you practice long enough, then inevitably the point in time comes when the might-oriented thinking becomes habit. Thinking represents a pure, consciousness-based process. This process is formless, but it possesses life and power. A thought, once conceived, lives very much longer than its originator. Each mode of thinking, each kind of thinking, and every thought has a quite distinct effect, either for the evil or for the good. This in the body as well as in the character, in the destiny, and in the environment. Each thought anchors itself in the subconsciousness, and from there embodies itself in the form of the resulting deeds, etc., and influences the psyche, the physical body, and the environment. Consequently, whoever perpetually concentrates their thoughts on hatred and revenge finally ends up, inevitably, as a murderer. Concentrated thoughts of the self-pity, the helplessness, the feelings of being rejected, despised, useless and superfluous, end eventually in suicide. On the other hand, if the thoughts are concentrated on progress, success, happiness, love, etc., then a corresponding success will ensue with the accuracy of a precision apparatus. Thus everything that is thought is determined to be or not to be because the thought, the thinking, carries the human being upwards, up to unexpected heights, or it hurls him or her downwards, down into the deepest depths of the annihilation. There is still very much more. Thinking creates energy of tremendous power. Every thought sends out energetical waves of the highest frequency. This means the thoughts themselves radiate as immensely strong energy waves, which are based in heretofore unmeasurably high frequencies. They leave the framework of their origin, speed out into the unending expanses of the universe, unhindered and unstoppable, in order to bring forth effects and conditions entirely according to their kind. Depending on the thought, they race away as an invisible but gigantic might of the light or of the darkness, further charging and strengthening themselves on other thought energies of the same kind, which likewise rush through the expanses of the universe and the ether. Having reached their outermost range, they then search for their way back, in which case, however, their form of energy transforms itself indeed into an opposite.